Howdy. It's a sad thing to talk about. Over 5,300 dead, thousands missing. As Medicaid, Marquesa, or Daniel causes catastrophic flooding in Libya. I have been talking about Medicains and maybe about the possibility of having Balticanes. Baltic Sea storms might be called Balticanes. I don't know. I guess, I assume, I hope that you are aware of this tragedy which happened in northern Africa. Hurricane Marquise, also known as Storm Daniel, made a devastating landfall in Libya on September 10th, 2023, resulting in severe flash flooding, especially in the country's northeast. The storm brought with it extremely heavy rainfall, leading to catastrophic flooding and tragic death toll of over 5,300 people, with thousands still missing. Here they are talking about the very heavy rainfall. The cyclone then set its sights on Libya. The aftermath was catastrophic. Northeastern Libya, a region that typically receives an average annual rainfall of 25 millimeters, 1 inch, was inundated with up to 406 millimeters, 16 inches of rain in 24 hours. Yes, they got a lot of rain. And as far as I know, you can check out the whole article. As far as I know, there has been also some dams which were bursting and they just increased the flood because they broke and all the water from the dam joined the other waters. So I went over to Derna, where the biggest devastation obviously happened. It is at the coast, but there is Wadi Darna. It seems to be a river, seems to be a valley. Two valleys just joining before they enter the city. And I looked around a little bit and I found the Derna Waterfalls. And let's just have a quick look at those. If it works. So this doesn't work, so we might have to turn on the photos. Now we get hopefully something. Yes, check it out. A waterfall. And this looks to me like a tufa ditch, where very calcium rich water comes to the surface and it emits CO2 and it depletes calcium. These are basically slowly growing formations. Yeah, there's water. And these rocks look to me like they are rather calcium-rich rocks. And also the mosses which are growing there indicate in a way to me that there is rather mineral-rich water pouring out of the ground. There's obviously something construction-wise going on, maybe with the bridge we just saw here. Here we can see the pillars, which are here. And they are celebrating now this bridge, or whatsoever. Anyway, I would see this as a fact that there is also water pouring out of the mountains in the area where the flash floods happened. That's a very important thing to recognize. Because we have to understand that These wells, they might experience fluctuations in the amount of water pouring out of the mountains. Sometimes it might be less, and sometimes there could be very much. And there is, obviously, we are in the valley. Very fascinating geology here in the background. And it's green. So there is constantly water somewhere. There might be many other waterfalls there in the region and places with water. Going upstream a little bit more, maybe we can see one of those dams which didn't hold the amount of water. Yeah, I'm not saying in any way that the rainwater isn't the main cause of the disaster which happened. Here's the dam. And I'm not saying that's one of those dams which collapsed. It could be possible. I also want to point out the rather interesting colors we are watching at. It's really red. And in other places, very white. Yeah, here's the big one. Maybe that's salt. I don't know. And then we have also, if we zoom out a little bit more, you can see these patterns here. Dendritical patterns. And for those who are interested in geology and stuff like that, it might not be rainfall over billions of years which were carving out these channels, nor glaciers, because it might be something different. Now let's have a look at these patterns. Let me show you quickly a video about how these patterns probably got formed. Because this art was made by running electricity through, yeah, here it's wood, but it works also through rock. Just in case if you haven't ever seen that. Just now I just missed. But now let's see. This is how that looks. And here we can see the channel of the river. Like Andrew Hall once said, the river flows into the direction from where the dragons once came from. In other words, the electricity comes from this direction and the water will flow into the opposite direction. Now let's just have a look at one of those. Is there any water anymore left here? But we have a wide river at the bottom of a wide river bed. There might be water every now and then. Maybe there has been 2 days ago water flowing in these valleys as well. And since they are rising up here, they might go into this direction. But anyway, the reason why I tell you all that, talking about these floods and the rain and stuff like that, is because I've been writing about this. I've been trying to warn people, getting aware of the possibility of the water coming forth, so to speak. There are many ancient tales where it's told all of a sudden the mountains brought forth the water. The mountains started to cry. Because there has been all of a sudden a huge fluctuation in the outpour of the water of the mountain. So that's the paper I wrote. if you are interested into the topic, you can check it out. I just wanted to show you. We have to scroll down a bit. Yeah, I also wrote about the White Rivers. And it's still under investigation. What's the thing about the White Rivers? As I just show you, there is a White River as well in Northern Africa. So now, these changes can happen rather quickly, but the aftermath might last a very long time. For example, just think about a lightning strike igniting a forest fire. The lightning strike lasts only a blink of an eye, but the forest fire and its aftermath can last years and even lifetimes. So it is important to understand the meaning of the word scalability also in terms of danger potential, especially when dealing with cyclical events in densely populated areas. When talking about cyclical events, we have to remember also geysir eruptions as cyclical events. Yes, the mountains bring forth the water. That's why I use the word geysers. We have therefore also to expect fluctuations in the amount and composition of the eruptive material. Some geysers might have been consistently active over a relatively long time, let's say 150 years, maintaining a constant outflow with minor changes, or they got destroyed by earthquakes. A sudden peak in its activity could come as a surprise, because many people are blinded by the so-called modern technique and trust it more than the warnings of the ancients. This is something people who live in a region with ancient pile-dwelling settlements in the Alps region should give a serious thought. The last, let's say 400 years, were providing humanity with very gentle weather. Many dams, bridges, roads, and channels have been built in the Alps regions. Yes, I'm talking mainly about the Alps, but the Alps are just mountains like the mountains in Northern Africa. There are the same mountains. There's water, there's mountains, there's rivers, there's dams. So it's not just about the Alps. This is also very important to understand. I'm basically talking about mountains in general, wherever you go on Earth. Or maybe other places too. Many hydropower plants provide electricity for the people downstream. If nature decides to bring the waters forth, it does so. Remember about the magnetic vortices, weather patterns spinning in certain directions. And there has been a very strong low pressure system in Libya. And it spins, is it clockwise? So the energy is going up, which means it could pull the water from the ground upwards. In other words, there could be much more water pouring out of the mountains just by electromagnetic forces. Furthermore, we have the downpour water, which comes from above. In other words, the waters of the heavens and the grounds could possibly meet, and they accumulate on the surface. One of the waters comes from below and comes to the surface, and the other waters, they come from above, but they meet at the surface. In other words, floods. Many dams won't be able to sustain the energy, and they might even break. Much damage to infrastructure may occur. And here, if we continue, the brick floods in 1993. Rain was for sure part of the whole event, but the amount of water that flooded the valley was staggering. It surprised everybody. Not only the amount itself, but also the very quick rise. There's a small mistake. Anyway. The Saltina was blamed for the floods. The name Saltina comes from the Latin word saltare, to jump. And there's records of flooding as early as the 14th century. If I have the time and stuff, I try to figure out if there has been any ancient stories from the region of Derna of this. What was it called again? Wadi. Wadi something. Wadi Darna. Is there any ancient recordings of this river having or experiencing flash flood events? Because as we have seen, there is a waterfall not too far away. Derna Waterfalls. Obviously, the water is pouring out of the mountain somewhere. You know. There might have been times in the past you couldn't go in the whole valley because there was just so much water. Yeah. And like in many other natural things about the fluctuations, it might be so that the water has been now retreating for a while. There has been droughts in Europe and stuff. It has been retreating, as it does usually before the tsunami comes. It's retreating and then it comes back with force. And maybe a similar principle happens also weather-wise. If there's a high-pressure system, the energy is coming in. If there's a low-pressure system, the energy is going out. And if the energy is rising upwards, it might take the water with it upwards, and it will flow out of the mountains. Of course, there is also rain, and there could be basically two sources of water which create sudden floods from immense proportions. But anyway, obviously I talked once again about mountain water. And yeah, I still think it's a very interesting and probably also important theme. If people start to realize about the whole mechanics, what it means, basically, if you have a hill or a mountain where is water pouring out. It's a cryptodome, basically. It is an active mountain, and as it is active, it will experience fluctuations. There will be less or there will be more water. For sure. Nothing stays the same. Many things repeat themselves. And many things in the pasts, yeah, there might be many pasts. Anyway, many things of the past are told by our ancient people as warnings. They described what they saw the best they could. So they have to be taken serious. They, for sure, didn't make anything up. But anyway, thanks.